Today, we will be continuing making chainmail. Yeah, I thought I was going to be real smooth by picking this up and doing it with my hand. But turns out, I kind of need two hands for that. So, up on the thing we go. All right, anyway, yeah, at some point during this process, it occurred to me that this is a very silly way of doing this, so we might as well get some internet points, you know? But yeah, it's not nearly as silly as what I did last time. But last time was like 6 years ago, so I give myself the credit. Anyway, so what we've done here is to attach a line to the other side of the room. I'm putting this on a drill. We're going to try and keep some tension on this. Bit of a trick. All right. Whoop-a-dee-doo. And we are off to the races. So that's what happens when you go too fast. What I'm going to have to do here is just to make a jig for this, like a little carpentry setup thing where it just feeds one into the other. Because this is, of course, extraordinarily silly. And that's if it doesn't lose me a finger. If it loses me a finger, then it's rather more severe than very silly. Yeah. So the trick here is to feed the wire onto the rod to curl it down to the right length without getting your fingers stuck in it. So you got to keep it under tension, but you also got to not destroy your stupid little dowel, because it's kind of delicate and there's a lot of force going into it. Alrighty. There we go again. And that's what we're doing here. And the idea is to get as many rings onto the stick as possible so that we're not wasting time and effort and rings and all that. Oh, I don't have a microphone on me, and I'm not speaking towards the camera, so I sure hope you can hear me at all. Yeah, here's what it looks like so far. When you do that, it messes up the size of the rings, and so you really don't want to send that through if you can possibly avoid it. I'm sweating. Even just having these gaps is going to be enough that those rings will be noticeably a different size in spite of everything. All right. Can we please? I was just talking about this. I got the wire all kinked up, but anyway, that's coming along. And again, the big trick here is to not get your finger pinched in there. Because you only got to do that a couple of times to do it bad enough to lose a finger. I don't even have a stand for none of this. So there's a lot of 2x4. There's a couple of 2x4s in my future. What I'm getting at. I'm trying to destroy these books if I possibly can. Alrighty. I'm just thumping all around. All right. Okay, one more time. And then we'll switch it over to the other side. It's just real easy to do. And if you look at some of these springs, you can see about every, 3 feet or so of string, wire. Okay. All right, I'm going to switch it over to the other side now. And it's basically the same thing, but in reverse. But the opposite, actually, if that wasn't fun enough. And if you'll see, what we're doing here is doing it in a very silly way, hence goblining it. Now I'm doing my drill in reverse. Get my finger dangerously close. And we're going to run it up for the other half a meter. That's the other reason why you got to watch your fingers, is because once it starts hopping up, it can really travel pretty quickly. And if your finger gets under there, it can get very dangerous. Hence why the tactile kind of way of doing this is not necessarily as silly as it looks like. There is a certain amount of effort that's going to be required to be invested here in order to do this safely. And so I've been dealing with it by just batch by batch, do it where you got your hands on it and you can feel how safe or unsafe it is at any given moment. And you try to maximize efficiency, but it's not the end of the world. You end up just doing some extra work here and there. That's okay. We're going to build a mechanism to do this at some point. Right this second, this gets us through. And part of what's going on here is that there's hundreds, like 500 to 700 rings on each of these spools. On each of these little dowels, there's at least 500 rings. And that's a conservative estimate. It's probably closer to 800. It just depends on how close I get them. Okay, that's right on the edge of what I want. My goodness, does that sound like my toilet having some water pressure issues? It's always disconcerting to hear in the background. Took my eyes off of it for a second. I'm gonna call it there for that batch. I can probably take it all outside. That's part of what I was recording for, is I figured this is now enough. Even though it's only 2 spools, there should be about 600, 700 rings on this spool. Dowel, however you like it. And this is a 16 gauge. This is 16 gauge electric fence wire, stainless steel. It weathers real good to being touched and not necessarily cared for real good. That's part of the tricks of chainmail, is that it's pretty straightforward to start making once you're making it, and then this should be about as many rings as this. So these 2.5 should be able to net about 1.5 feet, 18 inches by 18 inches squared of 1 to 4. You see, because each of these center rings links into 4 around it. You can do 1 to 6, and there's like fancy stuff with jewelry and all that. But this is, best as I can figure, about the cheapest, dirtiest way to get this done. Is you get the electric fence wire. And, I've had this. I've only been doing it in a couple batches, but I got this for $65 at the farm supply store. Okay. I'm gonna try and get this off, and then we'll get some rubber bands, and we should be able to go outside. How is everybody? All 2 of you. Nice to see you. Good to have you here. Hello, hello. We are going to try to get this off of here, and then take them outside, and gotta get some rubber bands to try and hold these in place with some smaller sticks. And then I'm gonna take the angle grinder, and I should be able to just pop the tripod outside, no problem. Take the angle grinder. We do have a fresh one of these. I might want to put that on, and turn these into some rings. There's one. Where's the other? I'm looking for the needle. The needle nose pliers. I'll put some wear into these suckers. It's not every day you see bits taken out of here. Anyway, these ones are pretty cheap too. Oh, right. I just cut it there. I swear I got some wire cutters around somewhere, but I've just been using those for a while. They have, I don't know if you are familiar with. Anyway, it's fun to do this sort of project. It's a good weekend project. You can get. I'm looking for. I had a short featuring it earlier with the small. Yeah, here it is. The small things of electric fence wire. You can get those. They're like $20 at the hardware store, and it makes for a great weekend project. All you need is the dowels of the size that you want, the wire, and then some basic hand tools, pretty much. Just the angle grinder with the cutting edge, and then this. It's not coming off as smoothly as I was hoping for. Come on, there we go. Yeah, it's still got a lot of tension wrapping it around this. There you go. Oh, wait, also I need to take it off the other hand. That would help. Be real careful with the wire. Once you get used to having it around, it's real easy to get a bit too comfortable with it and cut yourself. If I can get through this without cutting myself or getting, metal scraps in my eye, I'm going to feel pretty happy about this. There we go. Safety boots. That's what was required. Alright. I'm sure the normal shoes will do just fine. And I'm going to get some rubber bands with these. One, here is two. Awesome. Coat. Do I have coat? It's not too cold outside. Shouldn't be that hard. I haven't tried this method before, but what I'm going to do here is. That's the one we just did. I'll do it last. First in, first out. I think these are the same size. Anyway. What we are doing here is wrapping this stick, yes, with the the coiled mail. It's going to be our chain mail rings, all on this stick. I'm going to try and hold. I'll probably have to do it like a section at a time or something. Maybe. I don't like cutting on my rubber band, so I'm going to try to avoid that. But it's not nearly as bad as cutting the sticks, which is what I was doing when I first started this, which is, sillier the more you think about it. Right. Trying to have that hold it in place enough for us to be able to the plastic zip ties. If all else fails, I got more wire. We're taking the angle grinder and I'm going to cut it down. How is everybody doing today? I hope, hope I've kept up with the two of you. Aw, yeah, thanks for the likes. I really appreciate that. It's good to see people out here, and I might get into the habit of this. I may well start doing this every day or every week or something like that. Because yeah, I'm wanting to make big ones. These big. Big vests. I've seen blankets. I think that's the coolest thing ever. So I'm definitely going to do that. Jacket. Jacket. Alright, I am going to have to turn off the light, the little ring light. Because I'm taking the tripod outside. We are heading out into the cold. There's a couple little piles of snow, but that's about it. Nothing too daunting. Alright, we are heading out into the great Young Wilder. I don't have an extension cord, so this might be a real short trip. But we're gonna see what we can do. Accouchement. There we go. Yeah, the front door just does that. I don't like making a fuss. I have to have an extension cord somewhere. I know I have a little one, and I just don't want to get up against this house. I don't talk to the neighbors all that much. It's a thing. For the longest time, I thought this thing had a battery on it. We might have to go to the bar across the street and use one of their outlets. Oh, I didn't think this far ahead. Tricky. So we're looking for a plug. I'm also gonna have to run back and get new. I don't have a workshop or anything. I had access to a workshop. And I still do, but it's not like my workshop. It's not like I can just pop over right this second. It's not outside the front door. Just astonished that there's not an outlet out there. I really thought that there would be. Okay. Feeling very silly. That will be. obviously, of course, I do not have any sawhorses or anything, but we also have a rather unsafe extension cord. Yep. Yepperoni. That is correct. I don't want to necessarily do it like this, but it will work. I'm gonna put my rings in. Alright. I want to give it a couple, 5, 10 feet away from the building. Maybe something like that. Alright, where we got? That's my... Okay, cool. Alrighty. Almost safe. Safety glasses. I had bigger glasses last time I did this, so it didn't come up. Also, I'm calling it, this sucker is done. So this is how you change this out. Also, I should have a face mask for this one. So, the result of that is I'm going to be sneezing out bits of I didn't quite catch this part last time, apparently. Oh my goodness. Okay, apparently this doesn't actually quite fit on here. I guess I must have just taken it off at the time. one or both sides is on backwards. Looks a little bit better. Alright, part of the trick we're running into here is just keeping it steady.